A journalist somehow ends up in a sensitive government group chat. Is this a coincidence? Or maybe is it a setup? Jasmine Crockett started her usual mess, but this time she was picking on a Texas governor. And Rose DeLario is not only woke, but apparently she's young again. We'll discuss this and more today on The Springer Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Springer Show. This is the voice of the conservative truth. Today, we're going to start out with one of the hot topics crossing the wires right now. It's about this Signal app hoax. That's right, folks. Like I said, it's a hoax. That's because that's really all it amounts to be. But the left is trying to make it into a whole Watergate-style incident. Recently, news highlights a journalist that was added to a group chat using the Signal app and receiving sensitive information about a recent Houthi strike carried out by the United States. If you don't know, the Signal app is a messaging app, much like any of the other numerous texting or messaging apps out there, except Signal is supposedly like super extremely secure. I don't know how. I'm not into all that technical stuff. But on their website, they do say it has the state-of-the-art end-to-end encryption powered by the open source Signal protocol to keep your conversation secure. I'm not sure what all that means, but sounds really secure. So the Signal app was approved for use by government officials back during the Biden administration, and it has continued that use into the Trump administration. The current Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, says that the Signal app comes pre-installed on government devices and computers. And I would like to think that the Director of National Intelligence would have some sort of an idea as to whether or not this app was a safe app to use, and maybe if it was secure enough to use. So the left is trying to spin this story into some sort of a massive conspiracy or a breach of national security, claiming that classified information was shared with the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, which is pretty much a Trump-hating rag, by the way. The liberals are calling it Signalgate, cute little name, and they're nodding towards this being some sort of a massive golden ticket for them to be able to get rid of President Trump's cabinet members, maybe dismantle the entire system that plagues them every day. Democratic Representative Val Hoyle has been extremely outspoken in calling for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's resignation. So let's take a listen to that real quick.
Val Hoyle is calling for the immediate resignation of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth after top Trump officials discussed U.S. military attack plans in a group chat that mistakenly included a journalist. Hoyle joined 69 other House Democrats sending a letter to Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Now, the letter details grave concerns over the handling of sensitive information regarding military operations in Yemen and potential risks to service members carrying out the mission. Now, the degree of incompetence, as we quote here, the degree of competence, carelessness, and irresponsibility is difficult to underscore. It is incomprehensible that the heads of the world's most powerful government were unknowingly sharing secret military plans and knowingly using an unsecure communications method to do so. You all jeopardize the lives of service members. There must be accountability, starting with the immediate resignation of Secretary Hegseth.
So as you see, she's just really out for blood at this point, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, when I say I'm talking about the left. They're looking for more blood, more heads to roll. So I shared the so-called leaked text on the show's Facebook page. And you can clearly see that there is no classified information or specific information about any sort of strikes. There is nothing more on there than timing and some generic talk about the strikes, such as the first strike this time, target's supposed to be where they're going to be, second strike here, blah, blah, blah. So there's nothing in there that would be able to be anything near calling it classified. It doesn't meet the requirements for classification. It might be sensitive. Not might be, it probably was sensitive. It was probably a very bad thing that this reporter was added to the conversation. But in the end, it happened, and they're going to try to find out why. But I'll tell you what, if this was truly classified information, the reporter would have never released it. And you have to think about this. If the reporter released this information, knowing it to be classified, then he would be in a world of trouble for dissemination of classified information. He went on record saying that he had classified information that he was privy to, and he released it publicly, which tells me that he absolutely 100% knew that it was not in any way, shape, or form classified information. This is nothing more than another way for them to try to take down the Trump administration's cabinet and try to somehow disrupt the current administration. So, Florida Representative Greg Steube was part of the House committee that was interrogating, among others, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, about the entire Signal Chat incident. She had just come off of being interrogated by, I don't even remember her name, I'll be honest with you, but some left loon. And Representative Steube stepped in and set the record straight. Why don't we just take a quick listen to that?
Mr. Steube.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, were there any sources described in the Signal Chat?
No, Congressman.
Were there any methods described in the Signal Chat?
No.
Were there any locations?
No.
Therefore, due to the fact that there were no sources, no methods, nor locations described in the Signal Chat, it does not make the discussion classified. Is that correct?
That is up to the Secretary of Defense determination.
The Democrats are obviously making the assertions that what was in the Signal Chat was classified and claiming that Secretary Hegseth put this war plan out to the world, which he clearly did not. Were there any names in the Signal Chat?
No.
Any targets?
No.
Any locations?
No.
Was there a unit name or location of that unit?
There was not.
Were there any routes described in the Signal Chat?
No.
Wouldn't an operational plan contain that type of information?
Every operational plan I've ever seen has contained that information.
Thank you. Shifting to the real threats to America, the southern border.
Did you hear what he said there, right there at the end? Shifting to the real threats to America, the southern border. That was kind of a slap in the face to the left, and rightfully so, I'll tell you. Representative Steube did say, there was none of this sensitive information, so it was not classified. And D&I Gabbard say, that's pretty much up to Pete Hegseth, whether that's classified or not. And he also mentioned that there was no operational information there. I think that Tulsi Gabbard would have a clue as to operational information, as she is a former battalion commander in the military. She knew that there was no information there that was classified or super secret, maybe a little sensitive, but there was nothing specific whatsoever. Again, I shared this information on the Facebook page for the show, and I'm pretty sure that a quick Google search will bring it up and you can see for yourself. The reporter he's really calling for a witch hunt. That's what they're trying to do here. This is more than anything, this is just a nothing burger. The left is trying their hardest to spin this into something major, That is the entire demise of our national security program. Should the reporter have been added to the chat? No, of course not. Is this a problem? Something of a major concern? Yes, absolutely, of course. And our top officials are working diligently to try to figure out how this happened, maybe prevent this in the future. But this is by no means a major security breach or a threat to national security, as the left would have you think. So at this point, the left will take anything they can get and try to use it to dismantle and bring down the Trump administration any way they can. They will take every little shred and just run with it. I guess they figure if they scream loud enough, stomp their feet, cry like little toddlers pitching a fit, maybe we'll just give in. I don't think that's going to happen. But I'll tell you, it's really getting tiresome at this point. It's getting tiresome at how far they will go to make a mountain out of a molehill, and how often they try to fight against, well, literally anything that happens in the Trump administration. Anything good, bad, or otherwise, they're going to fight against it just because President Trump is in power. We saw this his first term, and we're seeing it again. It's crazy to see the amount of effort and time that they are willing to put into pushing against him instead of trying to work with him. That is nothing more than childish, foolish behavior, and it's on full display. And it certainly is not getting any better anytime soon. So, I'll tell you, speaking of childish behavior, I know there's probably a couple people in Congress that we can list out, and without trying to seem biased, the majority of them are on the left. I'll tell you that. The AOC, she's one, but I never thought the limelight would be taken off of her, but it has, easily. And intro Representative Jasmine Crockett, the poster child of childish, foolish behavior. She is a U.S. representative for the 30th Congressional District of Texas. And she is in the headlines yet again for more stupid stuff. I don't know why she just wants to continue to put her name out there and get in the headlines, unless she thinks maybe somehow that's going to get her reelected just because people know her name. Her actions are surely not going to get her reelected. So during a speech last Saturday on the 22nd of March at the Human Rights Campaign in Los Angeles, Jasmine Crockett referred to Texas Governor Greg Abbott as Hot Wheels. This is a man who is wheelchair bound. So if that's not despicable enough, I'm going to let you go ahead and just take a listen at what she had to say.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey.
A hot-ass mess. Governor Hot Wheels. And this is at the Human Rights Campaign. You hear what I'm saying there? Human rights. And she's going to say that junk. So Representative Crockett has since backtracked, saying that she was referring to his use of planes, trains, and automobiles that he used to transfer illegal immigrants into communities led by black mayors. Now, I have no idea what that has to do with Hot Wheels. Representative Crockett states that Trump supporters should not be obsessing over her every word, especially since he is known for mocking people with disabilities. She says at no point did she mention or allude to his condition. Talking about Governor Greg Abbott, of course, who was paralyzed in 1984 when a tree fell on him. A tree fell on this man. He was paralyzed, put into a wheelchair for the rest of his life, has succeeded in life, got into politics, and become governor of the great state of Texas. I don't know that President Trump is known for mocking people with disabilities, but I do recall an incident where there was a firestorm about him mocking a disabled reporter during his campaign for presidency in 2015. That is 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Does that really give Representative Crockett the right to mock Governor Abbott? No. But she wants to bring that up. Well, he did it, so it must be okay. No, when he did it, it was wrong. He got backlash for it. That doesn't mean you're given a golden ticket to go ahead and do it too. Absolutely not. The left was completely shook. They were out of their minds when President Trump had the disabled reporter comment. So I don't understand why they would now think it's okay to mock someone with a disability when they lost their ever-loving minds back then. She doesn't know how to represent her constituents. She doesn't know how to be a congressperson. But if you go back and look at the videos when she was running for Congress, she talks about how she went to private school, was raised very well. She was dressed well. She spoke very eloquently, articulated every word. She sounded educated. Now, I'm not saying she sounds uneducated at this point, but she sort of hoods it up a little bit. So which is it? You know, which is the real Representative Crockett? I'm actually tending to think it's the current one, to be honest with you. The people of the 30th Congressional District of Texas, they absolutely deserve better. Intro, Sheldon Daniels. Sheldon Daniels is an Army veteran and an attorney who is challenging Representative Crockett for her seat in Congress. Now, Daniels is a dad, a husband, a veteran, and somebody that cares about the community, which is what he inspired him to run. Daniel says that he wants to bring back professionalism and decorum to the office while focusing on issues that his constituents care about. I haven't researched Mr. Daniels extensively, but this may actually be someone you want to look into, especially if you're down there in the 30th Congressional District of Texas. It would be nice to see less childish behavior and more professionalism in Congress. Maybe somebody who wants to really do something for their people. We've talked about childish behavior, and now we kind of want to talk about professionalism in Congress. It seems to be something that is lacking these days, especially on the left. There is more and more of this woke ideology circling around. But if we discuss professionalism in Congress, we do need to talk about the rise of social media use. Among the liberals, specifically in Congress, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and now Rosa DeLauro. Rosa DeLauro is a Democratic representative for Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District. Representative Rosa DeLauro is a purple-haired 82-year-old woman in her 18th term as Congresswoman. Now, I'm no expert on today's generation, and to be honest, most of them confuse the hell out of me. But then again, I'm sure that my parents and my grandparents were probably confused by my generation, and so on and so forth. Now, as an 82-year-old woman, I'm fairly sure that Representative DeLauro isn't quite up to date on the current slang being used by the kids and the meanings of the slang. And if I'm being honest here, when I talk to some of the younger generation, from time to time, I've got to look up these words and try to understand what in the hell they're trying to tell me. It sounds to me like they're almost speaking another language. But again, I'm pretty sure that my mother, father, and grandparents probably felt the same way. Representative Rosa DeLauro, a purple-haired 82-year-old congresswoman, recently released a TikTok video appealing to the younger generation. I thought that maybe it was just nothing big, until I saw it. I was blown away, people. So I know you can't see it, but I've got the audio for you. Just go ahead and take a moment and listen to this work of art from Representative Rosa DeLauro.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on Appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties, House Appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag, we are the bag. Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, skibbity. So Sigma, main character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative aura points. Basically, the biggest phantom tax on the environment, on your education, and your rights. Big L posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
Wow. Skibbity, Sigma, Big L, very demure. There was so many slang terms in there, I really have no idea what in the hell she was saying. If you get a chance to look that video up on TikTok, I highly suggest it. But the feedback has been mostly negative, surprisingly from both sides. Representative DeLauro sounds absolutely out of place using those slang terms, trying to talk to the younger generation. I kind of see, maybe from a strategic standpoint, what the left is trying to do. Their delivery of that particular strategy could have been a little different. Maybe don't use the 82-year-old woman with, 16 to 18-year-olds slang. Why don't you just stick to language and terms you know? Okay? And again, we need to bring back professionalism in the halls of Congress, not some purple-haired lady running around being all skibbity with it. It's just ridiculous. But as mentioned in previous shows and on the Facebook page, Instagram, X, and all that, the left is doing their best to reach out to the young voting population and the upcoming voting population. They are doing things like putting an 82-year-old purple-haired congresswoman on TikTok, especially after Rosa DeLauro fought against TikTok. But then you've got AOC, you've got Jasmine Crockett, you've got these other congresswomen making these pick your fighter videos. They are doing their best to try to break the mold of the norm, I guess, when it comes to the way they reach out to their constituents. But I think they're still failing. Even though they're trying to reach out, I don't think they're going about it the right way. But then again, maybe they are. I'm not very familiar with the liberal mindset, but I do know that this is probably a tactic that the right, the conservatives, need to utilize, not necessarily, using these young slang terms, but more just reaching out and getting to our young voters, getting to those who need to be informed. We need to push the facts. We need to push the information out there to them and not just let them hear what legacy media is telling them, not just hear the liberal talking points, flooding their mind, changing their decision, saying, well, hey, screw Trump, screw Elon. What do they think they're doing, trying to help us, trying to save us money? That's just pure evil, which I don't really understand that either, why they don't like that. But we need to get out there and we need to have these discussions, these town halls, these live discussions with social media. We need to utilize social media. We need to get out there and really push the information and say, listen, this is why things are going this way. This is why things need to change to a certain way. This is what we need to do in order to help bring us back to a constitutional republic. Explain to them that, no, you're not fighting for a democracy. That's not what you want. And then explain to them why. Now, at the end of the day, there's going to be some liberals who are just so hell-bent. No matter what you tell them, they absolutely despise Trump, even though they really can't tell you why other than he's a racist. And they're going to follow the blue line, not the thin blue line. We support that one. But they're going to follow that Democrat blue line. No matter where it goes, up, down, left, right, sideways, over, under, they're going to follow it blindly. And it's unfortunate to me that it seems like the majority of our young folk are doing so. I don't know why they're so easy to fall for this propaganda that's being pushed out to them, why they won't think for themselves. When I was younger, we were taught to critically think, to make our own decisions, take all the information, make your own decision. So we have to come together somehow and figure this out and figure out what we're going to do to help these young folks. And not only these young folks, I'm not just talking about these young folks coming up into voting age. I'm talking about those who have been voters for some years now, all the way into their mid-20s, maybe even upper 20s into their 30s. There's a lot of people who I'm talked to, and I try to have civil discussion, who blindly follow the liberal mindset. And they, at the end of the day, honestly cannot tell you why. They cannot tell you much about the government or the country or why they want it to go that way, other than they enjoy having blue, pink, purple, green hair. They like having their nose rings, whatever it be. They're woke. They're a woke crowd. They're no longer sleeping. They've woken up to the world. It really just astounds me. Anyway, we'll cut that short and not keep that rant going. So that's it's about all the time we have today. I do appreciate you guys being here with us. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm glad that you listen. I hope that we can help put some information out for you guys that maybe helps answer some questions. If you have questions, please feel free to email us. It's springershow@protonmail.com. You can send me questions, comments, feedback, positive or negative. I take it all. Make sure you take a moment, follow, like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you get your podcasts on. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Reels, Truth Social. Just look for The Springer Show. And we have also added WhatsApp, and I believe there's a link on the Facebook for that. We'll be trying to start some communities on there so we can have more discussion with our listeners, maybe put out some more updates and have some more interaction with you guys. I do really appreciate every single one of you being here. Hopefully we'll try to get some more content out for you soon. I'm sure this week will give us plenty of more news stories to talk about. Thank you again. You stay safe, and God bless you all.